There are games you replay, and then there are games you return to. Assassin's Creed 2 is one of those games that doesn't just sit on a shelf in your mind, it lives there. Sometimes quietly, sometimes loudly, but always with the kind of warmth that modern games struggle to replicate. Booting it up again in 2025, you're hit with something that feels less like nostalgia and more like a deja vu. A strange familiarity, a memory coming back to life. But you also notice something else, a thought that creeps up slowly as the game loads. Games used to feel different, didn't they? And Assassin's Creed 2 is the perfect time capsule to prove it. Ezio isn't just a character, he's a phenomenon. Back in 2009, Ubisoft created something they didn't even fully understand at the time. They created the most iconic protagonist in the franchise, and one of the most memorable characters in gaming history. When the opening cutscene begins and you hear young Ezio arguing with Federico, the world feels light, playful, alive in a way that even photorealistic games today struggle to recreate. The early missions hit differently now. The rooftop race with your brother, the fist fight with Varys goons, Christina's window sneak ins, those warm family dinners, Giovanni giving you advice like a man who has no idea what's about to happen to him. There's an innocence to it all. This is why replaying it in 2025 hits so hard. Because you know what's coming. You know this joy doesn't last. But the game's opening hours remind you how much Ezio had before everything was taken from him. It's nostalgic not because it's old, it's nostalgic because it's earned. Modern games try to force emotional connection. Assassin's Creed 2 never has to. Ezio doesn't feel like a protagonist written in a boardroom, he behaves like a real person, impulsive, emotional, stubborn, but deeply loyal. The game introduces him not as an assassin, but as a boy who jokes with his sister, a boy who fights like he's invincible, a boy who thinks the world is simple and predictable. And that's why the tragedy hits. When Giovanni, Federico, and Petruccio hang, Ezio stops being a boy forever. Every time I replay this scene, it hurts, not because I forgot it, but because AC2 builds those relationships so well that the twist feels personal. Some modern games try to shock you, but this game breaks you. Let's talk movement. In 2025, we have games with climbing systems based on stamina wheels, games with auto parkour that feels like running on rails, games that basically teleport you up a wall. But Assassin's Creed 2 gave you flow. The parkour isn't about speed, though it feels fast. It isn't about precision, though you can be precise. It isn't about verticality, though Venice is basically the world's most beautiful jungle gym. Parkour in AC2 is about rhythm, momentum, timing. Moving through Florence is like dancing. Every beam, every ledge, every rooftop is a step in a routine you improvised on the spot. Revisiting it now shows how far ahead of its time it truly was. Even today, developers cite games' movement systems as a reference point, a foundation, a lesson. Ezio doesn't just run, he flows. If you've played the more recent Assassin's Creed titles, you've probably noticed something. The stories got bigger, but they didn't get better. AC2 remains a masterclass in pacing, character development, emotional arcs, stakes, themes of family, revenge, identity, and destiny. When you break the story down, it becomes clear why it works. Ezio isn't trying to save the world, he's trying to avenge his father and brothers. This is why players instantly connect. The assassinations are memorable because they matter. Every target is tied to the death of the Auditor family. The game slowly peels the conspiracy layer by layer. AC2 doesn't rush, it reveals. The Renaissance setting amplifies the drama. Secret societies hiding inside political turmoil. Perfect. Corrupt nobles, church power, assassins, thieves, mercenaries, artists. It's a world that feels both historical and theatrical. And Ezio grows genuinely over time. He matures, learns, changes. And you see him become a grief stricken teenager, a reckless avenger, a leader, and by the end of the game, a legend. This is why Assassin's Creed 2 works so well. It's less about the creed and more about the man. Here's the truth: Assassin's Creed 2 is not perfect. The combat is borderline easy, the stealth is simplistic, AI is kinda goofy, the economy is broken once you upgrade. Parkour has moments where Ezio decides he is in fact a dolphin and jumps into the nearest canal. But none of that matters. Not then, not now, because AC2 does something today's games rarely do. It respects your attention, no filler, no endless icons, no 200-hour checklist. It respects your emotions. The story is simple, intimate, but powerful. It respects your curiosity. The world wants you to explore and not grind. It respects pacing. Every chapter in the game feels meaningful. It respects character arcs. Ezio becomes someone, slowly, naturally, but beautifully. Assassin's Creed 2 is a masterpiece not because of its historical accuracy or gameplay mechanics. It is a masterpiece because it is human, and in 2025, that human element feels more refreshing than ever. There is a very specific feeling you get when you boot up the game in 2025. You hear Jesper Kite's choir swell in the background, you see that Animus calibration screen, and suddenly you're not in 2025 anymore. You're back in Florence. You're running across terracotta rooftops. You're Ezio. It's one of those games that doesn't age just well, it refuses to age badly. Because Assassin's Creed 2 didn't just release in 2009, it arrived. And it built a generation of players who learned to love stealth, parkour, Renaissance chaos, and the absolute swagger of Ezio Auditore da Firenze. The game is basically the blueprint for how to write a satisfying revenge arc. It has everything: a rising hero, a conspiracy woven by Templars, a villain who isn't just evil but historically terrifying, a world political system you must understand to survive, friends who guide you, betrayals that break you, loss that shapes you, and slow burning revenge that never lets go. And what makes the story so powerful is that it's not just revenge. Ezio doesn't kill people because he's ordered to. He kills them because he is seeking answers. Answers about why his family was targeted, why this ancient war exists, and why he was dragged into it. And then the ending, when Ezio finally confronts Rodrigo and realizes that the revenge he wanted doesn't feel like he thought it would, that's the moment he becomes a true assassin. The writing evolves with him, the missions evolve with him, the tone evolves with him. By the final act, you aren't just watching a character grow, you're growing with him. I'll be honest, I've replayed a lot of older games recently and realized some of them were only good because I was young. Assassin's Creed 2 is not one of them. Every single time I've played this game, I feel like I'm stepping into a world that was made by people who cared. People who didn't just want to make a sequel. A game that would stay classic even when games chasing realism had long been forgotten. What hits me the most, even today in 2025, is how human the game feels. Not just because Ezio is so charismatic, or the world is gorgeous, or the writing is so sharp, but because the game has soul. Games today are bigger, prettier, more expensive, yet very few of them feel this personal. The game isn't perfect, as I've told, but honestly, its imperfections make it perfect. It isn't a game I remember, it's a game I feel. So if you're watching this video and you've never played Assassin's Creed 2, play it. Seriously. And if you have played it, replay it. Seriously. There's something magical about going back, about climbing the Duomo again, about seeing that final cutscene and remembering why this game made such an impact. Assassin's Creed 2 didn't just define the franchise, it defined a generation of players. And Ezio, he's not just a character, he's a legacy. Nostalgia reloaded. Requiescat in pace. And thank you, Ezio.